Hello, everybody, and welcome to WarCrafters for August 3rd, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 31. I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com. The Sentient AI is not available today, but I've uploaded my consciousness to, a quantum computer so that I can keep up with the Sentient AI from the future. Today we're going to be talking about Extreme Sports FPS, Sony is suing Tencent, Mage Arena, Battlefield 6, and a promise for Starfield. Who knows? I don't know. Some people probably say, who cares? Too late, too little. Let's find out. All right, well, that right there is ohmTown.com, but you're here for WarCrafters. It's all a show about FPS, RTS, RPG gaming, discussions, people, places, things. Hopefully, in the future, I'll be adding more stuff to this, like equipment, gear, etc. One of the projects for the parent company is to be releasing a series of items for tabletop gaming. So I hope you pay attention and hang out, and maybe you'll be interested in buying some merch. Anyway, today, the first article is over here in TechnologyToday. Extreme Sports, an FPS from former Blizzard devs and the new indie games worth checking out. It says, welcome to our weekly roundup. Now, this is over at Doot and Gadget. And it says here that Chris Holt here put the article together at Engadget.com. And they say they have a long flight this weekend and they're a little torn over what to play while they're in the air. They have their Switch 2 Steam Deck Playdate with them. They say excessive, I know. So Donkey Kong Bonanza, Taria, and Como. They say they want to play. But these new releases, Monument Valley 3, I think it is. Yep. How about Descenders Day, which is a bike, maybe even surfing, snowboarding. I mean, yeah, I think when I saw Descenders, I thought it was only biking. But anyway, Wheel World, Wildgate. That looks like fun. I don't know. It says Wildgate is a multiplayer shooter from publisher Dreamhaven's Moonshot Games division. Dreamhaven CEO Mike Morhaime is a co-founder and former president of Blizzard. Almost all of the company's first wave of employees used to work at Blizzard too, so maybe not too much of a surprise that Wildgate has a polished, colorful look. I miss old school World of Warcraft. Dreamhaven, and the story was better. It wasn't all about getting you grinding to end game, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was a beta tester for World of Warcraft. I played it for 10 years, all the way up until I went to business school, and always buy the expansions, but never get a chance to play it. Then they talk about Supervive. Supervive, previously known as Project Loki, is a game that they've been watching for a while. It's it's out of early access on Steam. Theorycraft has overhauled this free-to-play MOBA battle royale hybrid with a 1.0 update by introducing a larger map that has more traversal options, a two-seater aerial vehicle, more playable characters. And then they talk about Agefield High School, or Rock of the School. Agefield High Rock the School is a narrative adventure game that follows a high school senior after his parents move with him to a new town. Sam Tatum wants to make his last few months of school unforgettable, and it says if he feels the need to skip class or mow lawns for a few bucks to make that happen, so be it. Oceaneers, they say, is a survival crafting sim from Barrel Smash Studios. It seems to draw from the same well as Don't Starve, but that's hardly a bad thing. You have to expand your colony. You'll also do battle with sharks and crabs and discover hidden bunkers, and perhaps there's someone inside who has to punch a sequence into a terminal every 108 minutes or something like that. Link, link, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Kato's Post Office. Gigasword. The player who can't level up. It's an action roguelite that is based on a webtoon that debuted last year. It has a slick, gorgeous trailer, the article says. And there's more over here at Engadget. Chris Holt put the article together. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over on WarCrafters, a slavish clone. Sony is suing Tencent over a game that looks startlingly similar to Horizon Zero Dawn. You click that link, you get taken over to PC Gamer. Tyler Colt put the article together. The deck statement says Sony isn't a fan of how familiar Light of Motoram, M-O-T-I-R-A-M, looks. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, it's biomechanical beasts. Apparently, Sony has the same reaction as the rest of us when Tencent announced a game that looks shockingly similar to Horizon Zero Dawn. It's suing the Chinese tech company over the open world game. Well, I like the idea of this open world game. Thank you very much. You know, I expanded the execution time, and it still says 60 seconds. What the heck? At any rate, in the lawsuit, Sony calls Tencent's Light of Motoram a slavish clone of the Horizon series that copies its entire aesthetic, story, themes, gameplay in a way that would confuse or could confuse consumers. Weirdly enough, Sony actually promoted a trailer for the game last year on the PlayStation China Weibo account. The PlayStation 5, along with Steam, is one of the several platforms Light of Motoram is set to appear on. Whoops! Anyway, copyright infringement is what they're saying. Like Nintendo did when it sued Pocket Pair last year. That suggests it's pretty confident of how egregious the similarities between the two games are. I'm not a big fan of Nintendo. But anyway, the next article is over on the WarCrafters channel. Steam's latest mini hit is Mage Arena, a voice-powered spellcasting game that costs just $3. You have to yell out Fireball, Freeze, Magic Missile. They yelled about 47 times yesterday playing Mage Arena, the voice-powered wizardry game currently shooting up the Steam charts. They convinced some friends to pick it up for $3. Early access arena shooter based on the strength of saying spells to cast them, pitch alone, and the verdict is Mage Arena is a blast. Click that link, you get taken over to PC Gamer. Morgan Park put the article together. It was going to cost $5, but the solo dev felt bad about all the bugs and lowered the price. Let's look this up real quick. Mage Arena. Oh my gosh, Mage Arena. Yeah, it's $3 right now. There's a confusingly similar one called Mage's Arena. Yeah, so $3. Available right now. It's overwhelmingly positive, so I guess I'm going to be adding that to the cart and continue shopping and add it again so that I can gift it to somebody. And then I'll go and view my cart. Anyway, let's see. It says, having messed with all sorts of voice recognition gimmicks in games over the years, they're impressed by how functional Mage Arena is out of the gate. It automatically uses your default Windows microphone, and so far, they've had no problem casting fireballs, freeze bolts, and magic missiles on the first try. Interesting. Well, it looks like it's going to be fun. Let me back up on this page here and take a look at it. It is online PvP, online co-op. All right. We'll have to take a look at it. It's dark and darker, or darkest dungeon, dark and darker, I think it is. Esque. You're just gonna have to kill everything that moves. Looks like fun though. What elevates Mage Arena beyond its voice gimmick is the spells themselves. Overpowered, frightening explosions of mystical might that you'd expect from level 20 D&D wizard. Fireballs hit like a localized nuke, instantly killing on a direct hit and obliterating the caster if they're too close. Nailing a freeze blast is tough, but the reward is turning your friend into a hapless block of ice while you're ready to launch a full magic missile barrage on them. This looks like fun. Go and check out this article over at PCGamer.com by Morgan Park. The next article is Battlefield 6 is already blowing up on Steam. Battlefield 6 has already accumulated nearly 500,000 wish lists on Steam in the weekend following the release of the game's reveal trailer. Click that link, you get taken over to Game Rant. Paul Landaverde, I guess is their name, put the article together. I think this game is supposed to be $80 or something like that. I can't believe that people are this hot for it. Battlefield 6 Steam store page drew about 500,000 wish lists over the weekend of July 26. Hold on, let me look that up. Battlefield 6. It doesn't have a price. You can add it to your wish list. But I thought I read that it was going to be like $80. Maybe not. I don't know. I just don't know. The game's overall Steam wishlist count is expected to grow even higher during and after the Battlefield 6 multiplayer reveal event, which starts on July 31st at 11:30 a.m. I'll have to look for it because we'll have missed it. At any rate, we don't know the price. We don't know the release date. It just says coming soon. The Battlefield 6 reveal trailer attracted over 7.5 million views on YouTube as well, and at the time of the writing, the reveal trailer has already surpassed 7.7 million views. In addition, IGN's own YouTube upload of the reveal trailer accrued more than 2 million on its own. All right, we'll have to keep an eye out for this. And our last article for WarCrafters for August 3rd, 2025 is Bethesda promises exciting things ahead for Starfield while releasing the teeny tiniest patch. After no news on Starfield for the Xbox Game Showcase last month, Bethesda has finally given fans a briefest of updates on the game's future. It basically died in my arms because I thought Starfield was going to be my forever game, at least until not No Man's Sky, but Light No Fire shows up. When that shows up, I think that I'll end up being a Light No Fire streamer. But at any rate, Starfield I thought was going to be awesome, but the universe is dead. There's nothing there. It's so blah. So they didn't give us any hint about what the exciting things are to expect, but the update this comment is attached to doesn't inspire confidence. It's a minor patch that mainly focuses on stability and bug fixes. You click this little link, you get taken over to PC Gamer again. Stephen Bonifield put the article together. Bethesda insists big things are ahead of Starfield, but no word on what or when, and they released the teeny tiniest of patches. It's been almost a year since Starfield's Shattered Space DLC came out, and the updates that they've seen so far have been underwhelming at best. I think this is dying on the vine. It died in my arms a year ago. The whole thing just kind of sucks. Reviewer Justin Wagner summed it up well. I was locked in for this sandbox to come to life, but instead Shattered Space delivers a bland stew of business as usual. It's largely on rails, light on substance for the price, and committed to a narrative I'm already forgetting the details of. Yeah, exactly. It should be an open world experience with multiplayer interaction, but it's just so blah. Come on. Indie developers do better with a smaller budget because they're dedicated and they want to see what's going to happen. They want to make something happen. This, though, ugh. Anyway, I'm going to hop in my spaceship and bring us back to WarCrafters front page over at ohmTown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. Be sure to follow us on Twitch and YouTube. You'll be informed when we go live on our Non Sequitur shows and when we release new episodes of the 6 weekly shows, which is going to turn into 8 here in the near future. All things considered, I hope. Anyway, that's it. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to Technology Today for August 3rd, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 31. I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com. That's the site you see right there on the screen. If you've never been there and you're downloading the podcast, welcome to ohmTown. Go over, sign up, sign in, all news, no noise, because all the noise comes from me. So the way that this works is I aggregate a bunch of different sources into ohmTown. I have varied interests, pretty broad spectrum. There's 50 channels, which represent 50 shows on ohmTown. And well, today we're going to be talking about the inner lives of cells, the Electron tunnel, a Bronze Age warrior 6 feet tall, green tech environmental crisis, and a spectrometer on your phone. Pretty cool stuff. I'm a big fan of tech, science, and society. I talk about those three from the perspective of them meeting in the center of ohmTown, ohmTown.com. So I talk both publicly and here on the stream privately as from the perspective of science, technology, and society, STS. In academia, that's what it's referred to as typically, STS. And I love that convergence. You cannot separate all three of those individually. You can't even talk about one without the other two being impacted. So always talking about all three. That said, let's get into it. All right, the very first article, this is the front page of ohmTown, but this is why you're here, Technology Today. And the first article is these super resolution microscopes are revealing the inner lives of cells. Advanced light microscopy techniques are giving scientists a new understanding of human biology and what goes wrong in diseases. When you click on, see, we only aggregate this little snippet. We don't screen scrape. It's all provided by the sources, but we even limit what the sources provide. We limit it to a very short sentence or a small paragraph. There's only one in the entire cluster of everything that we aggregate, or I aggregate into ohmTown. That goes beyond our limits, and no matter what I do, they don't turn off the full flood. But anyway, when you click on the little visit the source, you get taken to our source. In this case, it's Smithsonian Magazine, smithsonianmag.com. And Katarina Zimmer from Knowable Magazine put this article together, but there's a graphic here on the front that says new light microscopy techniques can distinguish objects down to less than 10 nanometers. I think these are amazing pieces of technology. I actually launched a YouTube channel a long time ago, the Microscope channel, and was streaming real-time microscopy with live Petri dishes, basically. And but there was a real problem with it, and that is that it was all conventional lighting, and so the lighting would overheat samples and stuff like that, and so I didn't quite feel right with that, and so I shut it down. But using a tiny spherical glass lens sandwiched between two brass plates, the 17th century Dutch microscopist Antony van Leeuwenhoek was the first to officially describe red blood cells and sperm cells in human tissues and observe animalcules, bacteria, and protists in the water of a lake. You can actually look online on YouTube for these original microscopes. It was quite fascinating to see how they were constructed. But by 1873, scientists realized that there was a limit to the level of detail, and when light passes through a lens, the light gets spread out through diffraction. This means that two objects can't be distinguished if they're less than roughly 250 nanometers or 250 billionth of a meter apart. Instead, they'll appear as a blur. That put the inner workings of cell structures off limits. Electron microscopy, which uses electron beams instead of light, offers higher resolution, but the resulting black and white images make it hard to tell proteins apart, and the method only works on dead cells. Now, however, optics engineers and physicists have developed sophisticated tricks to overcome the diffraction limitation of light microscopes, opening up the new world of detail. The super resolution light microscopy techniques can distinguish objects down to 100 nanometers and sometimes even less than 10 nanometers. Scientists attach a tiny colored fluorescent tag to individual proteins or bits of DNA, often in living cells where they can watch them in action. So that's basically what's going on. Single molecule localization microscopy, for instance, takes advantage of the fact that spots on an image are easier to localize with precision than they appear, or when they appear in isolation rather than clustered together. In regular light microscopy, you would have to change your focal plane and look deeper, but you only see this little sliver. Everything else is blurry. So they say another technique, stimulated emission depletion, scans the samples with lasers that are surrounded by a second donut-shaped ring of lasers that cancel out the fluorescent light around the area of interest, sharpening the microscope's resolution. And then a third method called structured illumination microscopy illuminates samples with a striped pattern of light, and these stripes interfere with the light emanating from the sample in ways that allow scientists to infer additional detail about the image, basically use techniques to reverse those lines. So, revising biology textbooks, the techniques have already revealed new cell structures. Scientists have discovered that neurons have a unique kind of scaffold called the membrane associated periodic skeleton, or MPS, that provides rigidity and form and helps to regulate the signals that pass from one neuron to the next. And actually, neurons move about trying to find other partners to match onto and transition information. The MPS is involved in almost all of the neuronal functions, says Columbia University neurobiologist Victor Macaron Palacios, who recently reported that colleagues that a particular protein, paralemin-1, is responsible for organizing the intricate structure of the MPS. You can actually see it. Specialized microscopy techniques have revealed that nerve cells have a special type of internal skeleton called the membrane-associated periodic skeleton. A well-ordered nano-architecture of the skeleton is regulated by a protein called paralemin-1, fluorescently labeled in this image. You can see the actual striations of this skeleton, and it's very regulated. It's pretty amazing. So we barely understand what we are looking at. Scientists also have been studying how organelles interact with one another. Cell biologist Jennifer Lippincott-Schwartz of the Howard Hughes Medical Institute's Janelia Research Campus in Virginia, for instance, is scrutinizing the structures that mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cells, use to dock onto protein-making endoplasmic reticulum, which supplies calcium and fats to mitochondria. Pretty amazing stuff. There is a lot more over at this article. You can get the article out of ohmTown if you're over on Twitch. Otherwise, it's embedded in the show notes over on YouTube and in the podcast when it drops. This here is a picture of a fibroblast cell nucleus. The DNA binding histone protein called H2B is fluorescently labeled in yellow. The top half was imaged with conventional wide field fluorescent microscopy, your standard light type style of microscopy with a fluorescent tag imparted into the protein. The bottom half was imaged with the super resolution microscopy, showing basically a higher resolution of this particular protein H2B within the cell nucleus. Pretty spectacular resolution drop. Increase. The difference is that the glow was because of standard light. You had to capture a whole lot more. But when you don't have to open up the lens so much, in a sense, you get higher resolution. So the packaging determines how accessible a given region of DNA is, and that's important because different cells in the body, say heart cells or neurons, use only a specific subset of their genes. The ones that they use are left in a looser, more accessible state, while the silenced ones are packed tight. So pretty amazing. We'll be able to see more, be able to address more in a more focused way, and be able to count things for targeted therapies. Pretty amazing. I love this technology. Now I got to look into it to see how much this stuff costs. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. It's aggregated from a different source, but possibly. I haven't looked at it yet. All of these articles I've never looked at, but I have some experience with in some way, either the technology in one way or another, or the science behind it, or how society is impacted. That's the three domains that I specialize in. So a century-old quantum mystery solved. Scientists finally see inside the Electron's tunnel A team of physicists have experimentally uncovered what electrons do during quantum tunneling, revealing a surprising internal collision process that challenges long-held beliefs. Professor Dong Eon Kim of POSTECH's Department of Physics, in collaboration with Max Planck Korea POSTECH Initiative, has made a major breakthrough in understanding a fundamental concept of quantum mechanics known as tunneling. When you click the link over at ohmTown, it takes you over to the source. Pohang University of Science and Technology, or POSTECH, put the article together. It's posted at scitechdaily.com. And it says the team of physicists have experimentally uncovered what electrons do during quantum tunneling. Although it may sound like science fiction, particles in the quantum world can actually perform feats that resemble teleportation. One such phenomenon, called quantum tunneling, where electrons manage to pass through energy barriers, often compared to walls that they do not have enough energy to overcome, as if carving a hidden path straight through. This effect plays a critical role in how semiconductors function, vital components found in smartphones, computers, and let's not dumb down the article too much. This is Technology Today, after all. While scientists have long known what happens before and after tunneling takes place, the exact behavior of electrons as they move through this barrier itself remained a persistent mystery. So the results revealed a surprising phenomenon. Electrons do not simply pass through the barrier, but collide again with the atomic nucleus inside the tunnel. The research team named the process under the barrier recollision. Until now, it was believed that the electrons could only interact with the nucleus after exiting the tunnel, but this study confirmed for the first time that such interaction can occur inside the tunnel. Even more intriguingly, during the process, electrons gain energy inside the barrier and collide again with the nucleus, thereby strengthening what is known as Freeman resonance. This ionization often, it says, was significantly greater than that observed in previously known ionization processes and was hardly affected by changes in laser intensity. That is a completely new discovery that could not be predicted by existing theories. So the research is significant as it's the first time in the world to elucidate the dynamics of electrons during tunneling. I don't think they actually witnessed it, though. They just know that it hits something and goes to the other side more energized than what went in. Through the study, we were able to find clues about how electrons behave when they pass through the atomic wall. Now we can finally understand tunneling more deeply and control it as we wish. There's more in this article, but we're going to move on. The next article is over in Wanted. Archaeologists unearth a 6-foot-tall Bronze Age warrior clutching a spear. A man who died roughly 3,800... Oh, it's not like a bronze statue. It's a actual person. They died 3,800 years ago, may have been a prominent military leader, and was buried in an elaborate fashion. Again, you click the link, it takes you over to the source. This one is Gizmodo. Natalia Mesa put the article together, gizmodo.com. There's a picture of this Bronze Age hero, 3,800 years old. It's pretty amazing. They say that the Bronze Age man was buried alongside precious artifacts in a massive tomb. The man's skeleton was measured over 6 feet 6 inches, actually, in height, and dates back to the Middle Bronze Age, approximately 3,800 years ago. Scientists believe that they may have been a prominent military leader due to the way in which they were laid to rest. The discovery offers a glimpse into social and religious beliefs and rituals of Bronze Age societies. This was all translated from a statement from the Azerbaijan Ministry of Culture. The burial mound was found near, I think it's Karankal Plain, in an area locally known as Yovsandladar, near Azerbaijan's western border, measuring more than 90 feet in diameter and over 6.6 feet in height. The mound contained 14 one-ton limestone slabs face to face just beneath its surface, along with a stone idol shaped like a bowl and a circular limestone seal. Known locally as kurgans, burial mounds like the one were ceremonial structures often built by nomadic cultures, offering valuable insights into ancient societies' rituals and beliefs about the afterlife. At the center of the mound was a chamber, 6 feet wide, 20 feet long, divided into 3 sections. One section contained the human skeleton, another was filled with ceramic vessels, and a third was completely empty. The empty space may symbolize the resting place for the deceased spirit, according to the statement, but nobody really knows. The 4-pronged bronze spearhead is an especially rare find, not just in Azerbaijan, but throughout the broader South Caucasus region. Alongside the spear, researchers uncovered a variety of other valuable items, including bronze ankle adornments, obsidian tools, paste beads, and inlaid ceramic pottery, suggesting the individual held significant prestige. Inside the ceramic vessels, they found the bones of cooked animals believed to be provisions for the afterlife. Quite fascinating. There's always more here. Go over and check it out. Follow the link through ohmTown. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. How the rise of green tech is feeding another environmental crisis. The world's race to decarbonize has led to the rise of electric cars, and with it, soaring demand for lithium, which is required for the batteries. Again, when you click this link, you'll get taken over to BBC. Ian Wells, I think, is the author that put it together over at bbc.com. Raquel Selena Rodriguez watches her step as she walks across the Vega de Tilopozo in Chile's Atacama salt flats. It's a wetland known for its groundwater springs, but the plain is now dry and cracked with holes she explains were once pools. Before, the Vega was all green. You couldn't see the animals through the grass. Now everything is dry, she gestures to some grazing llamas. For generations, her family raised sheep here. As the climate changed, the rain stopped falling. Less grass made it that much harder. But it worsened when they started taking the water, she explained. They are lithium companies. Beneath the salt flats of the Atacama Desert lie the world's largest reserves of lithium, a soft silvery white metal that is an essential component of batteries that power electric cars, laptops, solar energy storage, etc. In 2021, 95,000 tons of lithium was consumed globally. By 2024, it more than doubled to 205. By 2040, it's predicted to be more than 900,000 tons. Most of that increase will be driven by demand for electric car batteries, says the IEA, the International Energy Agency. And everything is basically going away because of it. Chile's government has framed the plans as part of the global fight against climate change and a source of state income. Mining companies predominantly extract lithium by pumping brine from beneath Chile's salt flats to evaporation pools on the surface, and the process extracts vast amounts of water in this already drought-prone region. So the lagoons are smaller now. We've seen a decrease in reproduction of flamingos. She said lithium mining impacts microorganisms that feed birds. Everything is connected, folks. This is something that I talk about all the time. I practice a thing called associative thinking, where the process of just thinking about something, you can link it to other things, and it's a daisy chain of impacts, kind of like a butterfly effect, where a decision here in the Atacama Desert could drain the ability to keep life in that area. It overheats as well, and it throws off the environmental controls that are in place by nature. And nature abhors a vacuum, so you're going to see changes in the environmental dynamics in the region, and those are going to impact the areas around the world. So the underground water from the Andes, rich in minerals, is very old, they say, and replenishes slowly. If we are extracting a lot of water and little is entering, there is little to recharge the Salar de Atacama, she explains. Damage to flora has also been found in some areas on property in the salt flats mined by the Chilean company SQM. Almost 1/3 of the native algarobo or carob trees are starting to die. And they started dying as early as 2013 due to the impacts of mining, according to a report published in 2022. So how do you mitigate it? Frankly, I don't think that corporations really care, and they're going to move that from one place. That the value of that material is more than what people care about regarding the environment. So that, again, that sociopathy, the fact that nobody care, well, not nobody, but the people in control don't care. They're going to make their money, and they're going to live in a region where they're not impacted by it. So again, they don't see it, they don't care about it. Even if they do see it, they're making too much money to care about it, because when you get filthy rich, you stop caring because there's no social controls on you. So it says we're doing several pilots to understand which one works better in order to increase production but reduce at least 50% of the current brine extraction. Yeah. But if it doesn't cost more to do the brine extraction, then it's the least costly, which means that the profit margin is wider, and they still charge, a lot for it. So yeah, nothing's going to change until the cost changes. It's not the fact that they need to care about the world that is going to impact them, because they don't. All right, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. Tiny spectrometer measures light across broad spectrum and fits on a smartphone. Researchers have successfully demonstrated a spectrometer that is orders of magnitude smaller than current technologies and can accurately measure wavelengths of light from ultraviolet to near infrared. The technology makes it possible to create handheld microscopy devices and holds promise for the development of devices that incorporate an array of new sensors to serve as next-generation imaging spectrometers. Yeah, I need one of these because I have an experiment that I want to run. I do not. So the article is over at techexplore.com. It's written by Matt Shipman, North Carolina State University. Gabby Clark and Andrew Zenin edited this and or reviewed it. The paper is titled Single Pixel Spectrometer Based on a Bias Tunable Tandem Organic Photodetector, and it's published in the journal Device. Spectrometers are critical tools for helping us understand the chemical and physical properties of various materials based on how light changes when it interacts with those materials. Says Brendan O'Connor, corresponding author of a paper on the work and a professor of mechanical and aerospace engineering at North Carolina State University. They're used in applications that range from manufacturing to biomedical diagnostics. However, the smallest spectrometers on the market are still fairly bulky. True. The ones that I've been looking to get are some 2 feet wide by 1.5 feet long, or the other way around. I mean, they're like 2.5 feet wide and half a foot or a foot thick and 2.5 feet wide. So I don't, God bless America, I don't know what's going on here in my brain. Anyway, they're big. They're like 3.5 by 2.5 by 1 foot or more. And so it says we've created a spectrometer that operates quickly at low voltage and that is sensitive enough for a wide spectrum of light. Our demonstration prototype is only a few square millimeters in size, and it can fit on your phone. You can make it as small as a pixel if you wanted to. So if you rapidly apply a range of voltages to the photodetector and measure all of the wavelengths of light being captured at each voltage, you have enough data that a simple computational program can create an accurate signature of the light that is passing through or reflecting off of the target material. The range of voltages is less than 1 volt, and the entire process can take as little as a millisecond. My problem there is that I want not a simple computational program that can recreate an accurate signature of the light, but I want the signature of the light. It shouldn't be at certain levels, measure all of the wavelengths of light. I mean, there has to be interstitial levels of light between one level and another level, right? Like 451 nanometers, 452 nanometers. There could be something that is a massive spike in the spectroscopy, but you don't see it because the calculation from one range to the other range, I don't like that. I'd have to see it. In the proof of concept testing, the researchers found their pixel-sized spectrometer was as accurate as a conventional spectrometer and had sensitivity comparable to commercial photodetection devices. Now I'm really curious. I want to see the results and how they actually got it. So I'm going to have to hunt down this paper and take a gander at it. At any rate, That is it for today. So we're going to fire up the spectrometer, and that's going to reveal Technology Today over at ohmTown.com. Go over, sign up, sign in, become a citizen, and be sure to follow us on Twitch and YouTube. Download the podcast, tell a friend, leave a message, come and hang out. Monday through Friday, we do the shows, although my mayoral duties have kept me from being everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once, unfortunately. But that's it. We are done for today's Technology Today. So see you soon. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for August 3rd, 2025. I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com, and that's the visualizer for me right there. Today, we're going to be talking about when this thing hits 186 miles per hour and the Mazda MX-30 and why we don't have airless tires yet. Why do Jeeps have 7-slot grills and upending the Ford F-150 hegemony? But it's really not. It's just an interesting article about an unassuming crossover threatening to upend Ford's F-150, I guess, carve out of vehicle sales. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmTown.com. This is just one of 50 different channels, 6 of which are weekend shows. One is a daily show, Non Sequitur News. But we've got 6 podcasts that are weekly, one that is daily. It gets turned into a YouTube stream and a Twitch live stream Monday through Friday, and then on Saturdays and Sundays, and before and after the actual live shows during the week. We replay the shows, the last 2 weeks of news, 160 plus articles, all kinds of information, and the links are all embedded in the show notes over on YouTube. And unfortunately, Twitch deletes everything after 60 days, even though I pay to retain it to that level. At any rate, let's get into it. All right. Let's go. This is the front page of ohmTown, but we're really here for FourWheelTech, and that's the front page of FourWheelTech. But this article is the Bugatti that hits 186 miles per hour, and every customer's W16 Mistral and drives them at least 250 miles before delivery. So that's a lot to unpack. Daniel Golson over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and it says here that Bugatti has a 217-mile test route through Alsace, that includes traditional Alsatian villages, winding country roads that showcase the W16 Mistral's agility, long highway stretches intended to evaluate stability and comfort during sustained cruising, and mountain passes that challenge the powertrain under range of elevation and atmospheric conditions, the fairly obsessional automaker says. After that, further testing is done to make sure that every aspect of the car is absolutely perfect. Then Bugatti's test drivers take it to the Colmar airfield, where they test out the stability control and brakes and hit 186 miles per hour on the runway. In all, every Bugatti covers at least 250 miles before a customer ever takes delivery. So I guess you're not buying a new car. You're buying a car that has been ridden hard and put away wet at 250 miles before you even see it. And I don't know. Maybe they toweled it off. Anyway, that's the Mistral. It's a beautiful looking car, but my God. Do you really need to go? The Bugatti hasn't said how fast the Mistral can go with the roof on, but they say it's a bit less than the record-breaking 282 miles per hour it hit with the roof off. With the roof on, it's going to be a bit less? You'd think that with the roof off, it hitting 282 might suck a person out of the room. I mean, geez, that's insane. The Mistral's quad-turbo W16 sounds like nothing else. The Bugatti has carefully engineered it that way. Noise testing includes evaluation with and without the soft top roof. analysis of wind and road noise characteristics, assessment of exhaust systems, acoustic signature, and verification of chassis and tire rolling dynamics. It's important for humans to do Bugatti's testing, they say. And it's all for peace of mind. Putting every vehicle through a minimum of 400 kilometers of assessment or evaluation protocol isn't just about validity, but about confirmation that each W16 Mistral is imbued with the pure essence of quality, precision, and craftsmanship. Oh my. So they've got pictures. There's more information over there. There's no price on this. At least I don't think. $5 million at least is the estimate here on the article, but I don't think they have an actual price because I guess it depends on customization. Let's keep going. The next article is decidedly on the other end of the economic spectrum. It's over in FourWheelTech. Mazda MX-30 is one of the rarest cars you can still buy for under $15,000. Only 605 of the low-range MX-30 EV were sold in the US in less than 2 years, and they're getting really cheap. That's it right there. Colin Woodard over at Jalopnik put the article together. So you'd be pretty excited, right? Well, then it's time to head to Arizona to pick up a new-to-you Mazda MX-30 if you want to buy one for $15,000. Less than $15,000. Now, a lot of people just noped out of this whole thing because they have no interest in a small electric crossover that only offered 100 miles of range when new, and I get that, they say. Again, this is Colin Woodard. Let's see here. They say, and legitimately rare. This is one of the 3 Corvettes built with this exact spec on July 25th that happened to fall on a Wednesday rare. By the time Mazda finally pulled the plug on the MX-30 EV sales in the US, after not even full 2 years on the market, they had sold barely 600 of them because it only had 100 miles range. Put a little gas engine in there that can act as a generator to power up the battery pack, and I'm good. You know, fill the trunk up with a little gas engine. That's fine with me. There's a good chance that the sub $15,000 MX-30 would be the only one in the entire state. I like its design. I like that right there. It feels comfy. It looks comfy. You wouldn't want to do that in a future collectible, would you? So they say we're talking about one of the apparently 605 examples ever sold in the US, and all those road trip miles would just destroy its value. Just imagine pulling into cars and coffee behind the wheel of one of these. Unlike C&C staples such as Dodge Challenger and Chevrolet Corvette, most people haven't even seen one in person before. When you got there, they'd be so excited they would treat you like royalty, and you would be their king, the official winner of cars and coffee. And unlike other EVs that you could buy for similar money, the cabin is actually a pretty nice place to spend some time. It looks like it. Anyway, I might have to go and check it out. They say it's rare, it's cheap, it's cool. Wait, I'm talking myself into buying a heavily depreciated MX-30. No, I can't do that. I don't have the space for another car unless my girlfriend wanted to sell her perfectly reliable Camry. Yeah, that actually looks really nice. So I like Mazda. Yeah, that looks actually pretty cool. But is it a 4-door? I'll have to look at it. All right. Well, anyway, so why cars still don't have airless tires yet? After decades of development, we still don't have flat-proof, no-maintenance airless tires. What are the pros and cons, and what's the holdup? Well, wait a minute. What just happened? Okay, there we go. So I think their name is Chino Ortiz. The article is over at jalopnik.com. Those looks like some badass tires, and I want those. That looks really awesome. Anyway, the idea behind airless or non-pneumatic tires isn't exactly new. Michelin introduced the Tweel in 2005. More recently, Uptis, unique puncture-proof tire system. Prototype promised a legit airless design for passenger cars. Goodyear, Bridgestone, others have thrown their versions into the mix. The appeal is clear. No punctures, no blowouts, no worry. Don't have to do pressure checks, even or uneven wear, or worry about cold or heat or whatever. But there's roadblocks. Airless tires still feel like a prototype dream. One reason is simple: physics. Traditional tires rely on air pressure to distribute load evenly and absorb road shocks. Remove that cushion and suddenly everything from ride comfort to handling takes a hit due to airless tire stiffness. Current airless prototypes tend to transfer more road noise and vibration into the cabin than traditional radials, making the ride harsher, especially at highway speeds. Heat buildup is another issue. At high speeds, traditional tires dissipate heat through their air volume and structure. Airless tires, particularly those with internal webbing or solid cores, have fewer ways to shed thermal load, which can lead to material fatigue, or solid cores have fewer ways to shed that thermal load, which can lead to material fatigue or performance degradation. So that's basically it. Plus regulatory issues. There are rules. Vehicle tires are subject to rigorous performance standards, many of which assume air pressure as a baseline. Airless tires would require new categories, new safety certifications, new federal test procedures. Until regulators catch up, manufacturers can't legally put these on any car. You can do your off-roading on it and stuff like that, but you can't hit any road with other fellow citizens on it. Otherwise, you are entirely liable for anything that might happen. Not just, oh, it's an accident covered by insurance. You are entirely, it's criminal. So according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, even minor tire modifications must pass extensive load endurance and deformation testing before they're allowed on public roads. Rules airless tires must essentially rewrite. Let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. Why do Jeeps have a 7-slot grill? There's more than one theory. There are many ideas about why Jeeps today have 7 slots. Sorry, 2 fewer slots in their grills than during World War II. And the author, Paul Stadden, put this article together. I think it's it wouldn't be a symmetry thing, because it would have still be symmetrical. But anyway, let's call them divergent, they say. Theories about why Willys put a 7-slot grill in the civilian Jeep started in 1945 when the military version had 9. It's not so much a mystery as the Jeep Wrangler ducking phenomenon and its baffling ubiquity, but one conspiracy at a time. If you started going down the rabbit hole or rabbit trail on Google, you're going to find a lot of articles that either claim to have definitive answer or throw their metaphorical hands in the air and say, we don't know. The most common theory is that Ford had a patent, trademark, copyright on the stamped steel 9-slot grill it designed for the project. Willys Overland wasn't allowed to use it, or at least feared Ford enough to not to even try it. So the company trademarked a 7-slot grill instead, which seems like it shouldn't even be possible, but okay. Maybe that specific angle of attack, that specific curvature of the lip of the stamping, but 7 slots shouldn't even come close to being trademarked. You can't copyright that bullshit, by the way, and you can get a patent, but it's a design patent, not a utility patent. And design patents aren't even covered by anything. They're not actually evaluated. They're like, okay, you get it. You pay, $750 and you get it. Anyway, sure, Willys filed for the Jeep trademark, but that's a trademark. That has nothing to do with that. But okay. But let's not get ahead of ourselves with busting myths just yet. The second theory is that the 7-slot grill represents the 7 continents where the Jeep saw military service. The third and probably biggest stretch is that the 7 slots somehow refer to the 7 months it took to design, the 7 people who designed it, or the 7 years needed for production and development. 7, 8, 9. Womp. Anyway, they go into greater detail about this, but they talk about uncovering the truth about Ford's 9-slot grill patent, copyright, trademark. And they said they decided to find the mysterious, often referenced Ford 9-slot grill paperwork by searching through all the patent, trademark, copyright documents the government printed between May 1940 and December 1945, including the Smithsonian scans of the U.S. patents, HathiTrust's scans of trademarks listed in the Official Gazette of the United States Patent Office and the U.S. Copyright Office public record system. They searched for Ford and grill, poring over every reference. Yes, they went through 5 years and 7 months worth of patent, trademark, and copyright filings. If the 9 slots are that important, don't you think Ford would have either made a vehicle that featured one or gone through some public wrangling with Willys over a royalty for using 9-slot grills? So the most likely reason the grill went from 9 slots to 7 is because of headlights. That's a good possibility, or it's cheaper to just punch 7 than 9. You could make a smaller stamping press and it could fit in the corner. Who knows? But I don't buy in any of that. They said what reality is and concerned with making things interesting. Yeah. Anyway, pretty cool. I love stuff like that. All right, the next and our final article is this: assuming crossover is threatening to upend Ford's F-150 sales record. And I'm going to jump right on into it. The article is over at Jalopnik. Paul Stadden put the article together, and I was forced to take a look at this prior to the actual show because I was really curious just what the hell this was all about. But they're talking about the Toyota RAV4 beating Ford F-150's numbers by a significant amount. I mean, the F-150, I think, sold 732,000 in 2024, and the no, hold on, let me back up here. The RAV4 sold 475,000, and the F-150 sold 460,915. So 15,000 more, roughly 15,000 more RAV4s were sold. But then they kind of pull these numbers higher because the F-250 through F-600 and industrial ones, 650 and 750, all add to the number of F-series vehicles. But this is a crossover, not a truck. It lacks the utility of a truck and the industrial nature of it. And so I find it absolutely stunning that a crossover as unassuming as the Toyota RAV4 has overtaken the entry-level F-series vehicle, the Ford F-150. But the sales people are basically saying, well, anything that has the same A to C pillar is going to match that description, so they should be counted too. But again, it's apples to oranges, and I don't really like this entire article about it, although I love the numbers and I love bringing the Ranger into it and the Maverick, which is basically old school Ford vehicle truck size. The F-150 was redesigned, and it's much bigger than it really needs to be. Although some goober out there is going to sit there and go, well, what do you mean it's bigger than it needs to be? Yeah, all right. Anyway, other considerations is that the 2024 RAV4 base suggested price is only $30,000. That's a hell of a deal for a Toyota vehicle. Ford basically is just a big cluster. Although I kind of like the size of the Maverick and Ranger trucks, but I'm kind of a weirdo because I'm not too impressed by, the big trucks. It doesn't really do much for me. Anyway, go and get a Toyota RAV4. They're actually pretty great vehicles. But then this article continues to talk about the F-150 and bigger brethren, combining the sales of the Toyota SUVs and crossovers in 2024, including the RAV4, BZ4X, Highlander, Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross, 4Runner, Venza, Sequoia, and Land Cruiser yields almost 1 million. In other words, Ford's truck pickup line alone rivals the sales of the full SUV crossover lineup from Toyota in 2024. Yeah. All right. Well, because everybody thinks that they're in this industrial whatever. They don't need a truck. What the hell was the last thing that they put in their truck other than their beer? Give me a break. Anyway, love the numbers. I will not be buying anything until I get an EREV, extended range electric vehicle that has a little gas engine. The Toyota RAV4 with its 320 horsepower PHEV sport version is the 2026 hybrid only Toyota that I would probably consider, but we shall see. At any rate, that's it for FourWheelTech. And I am out of here. We're going to bring you back to the front page of FourWheelTech over at ohmTown.com. Go over, sign up, sign in, and I'm out.